The battle for the ANC leadership in Gauteng is heating up as the province holds its elective conference. MECs Panyaza, Lesufi and Lebogang, Maile are both vying for the position of Gauteng chairperson. Over 1,300 delegates will participate in the gathering. For more on this, I'm joined by political analyst Rebone Tau. Rebone, a very good afternoon. Thanks for speaking to us. Expectation that this would go according to plan. Has it started off in that way?
Good afternoon, Hugo. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. I think as things stand, I know that this morning when I spoke to some of the delegates, they were saying that they're making their way to the actual venue of the conference, which in terms of, we know that there will be a political report today and the credentials. And I think I've just seen a letter that was sent out this morning by the acting Secretary General Paul Mashatile. We know that there's the issue of Ekurhuleni, the 19 votes or the 5 branches that were disqualified, and these 19 votes have been quarantined. And now what is interesting on the letter that was sent off by the acting Secretary General Paul Mashatile, who's also from Gauteng, being his home province, he says that the PEC should decide what happens to those 19 branches. So the issue now is that within the PEC, it will have to be about the number of balance of forces on those 19 branches, because they make a huge difference in Ekurhuleni as things stand if they would be allowed by the PEC to participate. And that might also affect the outcome of the regional conference of Ekurhuleni, where Mzonile Masina was re-elected as the chairperson.
Rebone, talk to us about to quarantine the votes. What does that all mean for the layperson?
This is something new in the ANC. I was even shocked myself when I heard that 19 branches have been quarantined. The first time, we were all hearing of quarantine was during the COVID pandemic. And now all of a sudden the ANC is using this. And you must remember that the ANC National Executive Committee gave this to Jeff Gadebe to deal with the issue of the branches, while the ANC itself has got what we call the National Dispute Committee. So there's a lot of things that actually within the ANC that are happening right now, which are a lot of confusion. This quarantine, what does it mean? I am still also lost. What does it mean? Because it's either those votes could have been allowed or not allowed at all. So it means that they allowed it to manage the conference, so that the conference does not get dissolved.
Well, Panyaza, Lesufi and Lebogang Maile will do battle for the chairpersonship of the province. Talk to us about what credentials do they bring?
Lebogang, if you look at people that are mainly Lebogang's Aduwele faction, Lebogang is someone who is a former president of COSAS. He has led the Youth League as the provincial chair of the Youth League at some point, also provincial secretary of the Youth. Lebogang has been there. So most of the people that are actually behind Lebogang's faction are mainly those from COSAS and a lot of youth leaguers also who were members of the Youth League during his tenure. And Panyaza, he's got a background of SASCO, and you look at people like, I've seen the slate of Panyaza Lesufi. You have people like Dr. Bandile Masuku, who's also former president of SASCO. So you're seeing a lot of SASCO people who are running behind. So these are only politics of student movements, the battles that we're seeing today.
Now, what do they hope to offer the delegates?
In terms of, for me, I don't think that it should be about the delegates. The ANC in Gauteng is in a serious crisis. And what is it that they have to offer the people of Gauteng, especially going to 2024? And we have been seeing the decline, since 2016, where the ANC has lost 3 municipalities. We have seen again a repeat in 2021. We can go back to 2019, where the ANC nearly lost Gauteng. So it's not about what they can offer delegates, but what they can offer the citizens of this province.
But the reason I say that is because the citizens of the province are not voting. It is the delegates that are voting. So obviously there's got to be a pitch to those delegates. What is that pitch sounding like?
One of the things, hearing Lebogang speak in the main, because I've not heard Panyaza speak much in the public domain. We've been seeing the videos of Lebogang circulating, addressing the delegates from his faction. And one of the things that he has said that, for an example, the deputy secretary of his slate emerge, that deputy secretary should not be a member of the executive in Gauteng, but should be full-time at Sisulu House with the secretary of the province. One of the things that he has also pronounced on is that they are not going to be held at ransom to pronounce who must lead the ANC in December. They will give the branches of the ANC in Gauteng an opportunity to engage on who they would prefer to beg for the position of president of the ANC. That's what Lebogang has been engaging with the members within his faction.
Now, there are obviously a number of other positions outside that of the chairpersonship that will be contested. What are these positions and some of the candidates?
I mean, you have what is interesting about the Panyaza slate. You know, you have Norman who's coming as the deputy chair, but also you have Dr. Mokgeti who's coming as a deputy secretary. So Panyaza slate, as things stand, has got 2 female candidates. And then in the Lebogang Maile slate, there was an issue. There's a guy called Zara from Tshwane who wanted to be the deputy secretary. But because now already their slate had 5 men on their slate, which means Mzi is the deputy chair from West Rand on Lebogang Maile slate. So they had to say to Zara from Tshwane region that we can't have you as a deputy secretary, because then it will be only men on this slate. So then they have opted now to get one female to be on their slate, who is Tasneem Mutara. Tasneem comes from the same region as TK, who is the current secretary of Ekurhuleni. So that means the secretariat on that slate is within Ekurhuleni. And then you've got Bandile Masuku, who's standing as the treasurer on the other slate of Panyaza. And on the slate of Lebogang, you've got Mojapelo, who is the former regional secretary of the ANC during the tenure of Sputla, when Sputla was the chair of the ANC.
And finally, Rebone, before we let you go, what is the other business of the conference outside of the elections? Obviously, that's a key part, but I'd like to imagine that many other things will be talked about that might even speak to some of the issues around corruption and what the incumbent can offer the people of Gauteng.
Absolutely. I mean, there will be commissions, and at those commissions, they'll be discussing different issues within the ANC in the Gauteng province. We hope that the commissions will sit, because the problem with the ANC currently, most of the time, they don't go and discuss other business matters pertaining the organization, the state of the organization. They seem to get preoccupied more about what we know, credentials. And I'm waiting to see this afternoon, because credentials of conference have to be adopted. Will they be adopted, especially as I've indicated, those 19 quarantine or those 5 branches? So the problem is that if they don't adopt credentials, they might find themselves in the next 2-3 days discussing that. We've seen it most recently in Eastern Cape, where they did not even go to commissions. They just elected because they were fighting over credentials of conference.